demographic challenges in Europe. And at the same time, you mentioned that we shall have more babies, meaning increasing the birth rate and achieving optimally the replacement level, as far as I know, 2.1. And we also know that it is not what is happening in Europe now. We are very far from achieving the replacement level. So my question is, what is your prognosis for Europe, and what are the solutions according to you?
Question. Look, we are in a very strange situation because we would like an economical growth from one side, and from the other side, we do not want children, or at least we do not want to increase the population, or we are not working on increasing population, whatever you can put it as you want, and that's simply impossible. Okay, you can got some help from artificial intelligence. You can got some help from the automatization of of production and so on, but still, without people that will support the economical growth, there is no economical growth. And this, the desire of Europeans to have small families and to increase their standard and their incomes, it's simply impossible. It doesn't. It cannot happen. You know. All the problems stem from this problem, and the solution, yes, it would be, but probably won't happen in the future, is to increase the birth rates of the domicile population, because only the domicile population has the potential to increase the birth rates. You cannot increase the birth rates by migrants who, when they come here, actually they have lower birth rates than they had in their own countries of origin. What will happen in the future? I cannot answer that question. It's a tricky question. We can make assumptions about our future, but the positive thing is that for example, Poland. You know, their case is maybe something that can show that it is possible to increase the total population of the country after the decline that was obvious after the revolution and the introducing of democracy and so on. So maybe my colleagues from Poland know what actually was the reason for that, because all the other countries, unfortunately, of this region, and especially from Balkans and Eastern Europe, they are losing their population rapidly. That is partially has to do with their economic situation, but even in those countries with let's say those countries that we consider to be countries with high income rates, even there are problems with fertility or birth rates. So it is hard to make, but as you could see, all projections are in favor of the fact that actually Europe will lose the population. Actually, the population will decline during this century. Can we change it? I don't know. History is, you know, it's rare to find in the history an example of the switch. You know, Roman Empire, when entered this period of decline, just disappeared. Many other empires as well. They they didn't disappear, but it was really hard to recover from this decline. So let's hope that actually what we are working now, the problem, and I mentioned that today with some of my friends, is that we have not felt yet the consequences of the population decline in Europe. And that's why our countries or our, let's say, policymakers do not pay so much attention on those issues. But when we face those problems, then probably we will take some measures, but I'm afraid that it will be late because those measures take a lot of time. If today we change something, we will see results at least in 20 years.
I'd like to ask, how can we differentiate, or how does someone prove that they would be persecuted in their home country and they are not, let's say, an economic migrant who came to a country? How do I prove that non-refoulement case would apply to me?
This is the tricky element of the process. If someone is a refugee, he or she shall fulfill the criteria under Geneva Convention, and one of the most important parts of that criteria regime is the well-founded fear of persecution. And when a fear is well-founded, it's a very complex psychological process to evaluate someone's well-founded fear. It must be an individual assessment, first and foremost, unless there are conflict zones. Those are fleeing from conflict zones. But basically, it's a step-by-step and case-by-case assessment. And it's about not on legal perspectives, but some other psychological ones, and it's always very complex procedure to do so. So how to do it? It's beyond the law. So that's why it is tricky, and I think that is one of the reasons there are so many illegal migrants who are abusing this rule, because it's not easy to do this psychological test.
Just one remark to be added to your answer. Every refugee or person who is claiming to be a refugee and is seeking asylum has to fulfill the how is it calling, the application, and it is the assessment of his story based on the information of the country of origin, as well as information you can find on the, for example, on the internet, or he has some evidence of, I don't know, torturing, for example, etc. So it is very psychological side, but also you have to be like I don't know, investigator to find out the reasons and the base, and you have to have evidence if this person is persecuted in the country of origin, or has to be applied, or on him has to be applied the principle of non-refoulement. So it's just remark.
I have a question. However, the targets of my question is both the Hungarian and the Polish colleagues. And my question is, now you dealt with the present, for example, or among others, the constitutional aspects of this question in Hungarian and in Polish law. Would you be so kind as to determine an idealistic future? How should we imagine a future European Union legislation which it is in compliance with the Hungarian and Polish constitution about this illegal migration issue? My question, that was a kind of delega ferenda proposal, therefore I'm waiting a kind of delega ferenda proposal from you. How should, at the European Union level, a proper law created, which is also appropriate for our national constitution?
I think, of course, that this is a very important issue. However, the solution is difficult because actually you cannot, I mean, for Hungary or Poland, it's a little bit different because of the geographics. But for Italy or Greece, it's a completely different kind of geographics. That means that you cannot protect the borders simply because of the fact that you have islands and you have a long coast. And the only solution, a long-term solution, is to rethink about what we do in terms of foreign policy with the European Union. So actually, I think the only solution is not about migration law, but it is about helping the countries where people are coming to Europe. For me, this is the only solution, because once again, for Poland or for Hungary, it's not so complicated, because you have a territorial border that you can. For me, this is a practical question, because then, of course, from the legislative point of view, to answer the question, what would be important is to filter the people before coming to European territory. So what kind of filter? We can imagine different scenarios. We have had this project of humanitarian corridors. We have this idea of transit zones or transit points. Because the problem is, of course, from a human rights perspective also, that those maybe 10% or even less who would be protected by humanitarian law, by asylum, they cannot get the protection because of all the others who are not, maybe not, how to say, who shouldn't be protected. And once again, when those people arrive to European territory, it's very difficult to deal with the situation. I would say it's impossible to deal with the situation. You can see the different statistics from big European member states for readmission or expulsion, and this is completely, how to say, unacceptable, that you have, I don't know, 10 or maybe 50% of administrative decisions that they can really execute. I mean, it's not a legal order anymore. If you take a decision, well-founded decision, and then you cannot execute, then it's not about law. So once again, the solution would be to filter those people, but it's impossible because of the huge arrival of people. And I'm pretty sure that Europe should rethink about its positioning for international issues. I mean, and then I will finish, but the biggest problem in Italy with Lampedusa and so on, this is because of Libya. And what is happening in Libya? It is France against Italy. I mean, two member states of the European Union, two states of NATO, with different geopolitical interests, fighting one against the other. And the result is that you have two governments, you have the chaos in Libya, and people can leave the country without any problem, or the so-called Spring Revolution in Tunisia, and we could continue. The reason why the Coast Guard on the other side, where it would be easier, is not existing anymore.
I also think that we have to rethink, but in my opinion, the problem is deeper than only migration. It's the problem of the concept of European Union and the role of European Union in Europe, because as Peter said during his presentation, national states start to practice their sovereign competences by suspending Schengen. So it is the problem about the efficiency of activities of EU in general. So in my opinion, the first thing is to rethink the structure and the idea of European Union in today's world, and relation between states and this states members and organization, because without that we can only cope by now and here solutions without general ideas of it. And in my opinion, the more federalized is European Union, the less power have their countries. And because of that, we have to ask ourselves as nations what we want. What do we want? If we want to decide when we can suspend, for example, Schengen or so on, or if we want to transfer full competencies in the migration cases and moving people to EU, they are for and against arguments for it. But if without dialogue, all of the countries of EU on the concept of EU, I think it will be difficult to make it something on the legislation level to harmonize all countries' legislation and constitution to cope with the problem. So this is my answer. Thank you.